I used to see the world in order, in careful lines and curated silence, a place where footsteps echoed with purpose, where hearts were wrapped in satin and spoken about in past tense. But then you came, and the world turned. Not loudly, not all at once, but like dawn stretches its arms across a sleeping valley, waking color where there was only routine. With you I saw past the gilded edges of my life, into something unnamed, yet deeply known. Your laughter unsettled the air around me in the most beautiful way, shaking loose the girl behind the princess, coaxing her out of a stillness she thought was safety. You were not afraid of who I had to be, but you never let that be all I was. I remember thinking love would be quiet and regal, the way it is in old stories. But you've taught me it's something more reckless, more alive. It's in the glance you give me when I'm surrounded by cameras, the one that reminds me I'm not alone. And suddenly, in those moments, beauty becomes lighter, history becomes softer, and the colors around me, once dull, begin to bloom into something fierce and free. When I close my eyes, I don't see thrones or flags. I see your hands, how they speak even in stillness, how they hesitated the first time they reached for mine, respectful of all the things I carry, and yet how sure they are now. How steady in a world that trembles beneath us. I never knew a touch could feel like truth until yours. It's in the way you rest your palm on the small of my back when no one's watching, a whisper of presence that says, I'm here. And that here is not some physical place, but a state of being, a shelter within the chaos. They trained me for leadership, for poise, for quiet sacrifice, but no one trained me for this kind of devotion, the kind that asks nothing but gives everything. With you I am not a symbol, I am simply a girl who wants to trace every line of your thoughts, to understand where your shadows lie, to love not just the light in you, but the parts that hide from it. Because in your soul I see every hue I've ever needed, not just the bright ones but the aching blues and the storm-gray hopes that make us real. There's a part of me that still writes speeches in my sleep, that still hears my father's voice reminding me of legacy and patience. But lately your name interrupts even the most practiced sentences. It curls around my thoughts like a ribbon, untying the stiffness of my world, teaching me how to breathe again. You once said I look at the horizon as if it owes me something, and maybe it does. Maybe it owes me you, because you are the only thing that makes me question a future built for others. You are not a rebellion, you are a revelation, a new map drawn over the one I inherited, showing me how many paths were hidden beneath my silence. And when I look at you, I wonder if fate knew exactly what it was doing, placing you in a world that wasn't made for you, just as I was placed in a world that was made before I had a say. But together we carve a middle space, a kind of truth that doesn't ask permission. You don't need to kneel before me, love. I would rather stand beside you, our hands ink-stained from writing a future they never saw coming. I hear the clocks ticking in this palace like they're counting down to something. Duty perhaps, or history asking for its due. But every time I look at you, I remember time can also stand still. In our stolen seconds, when the world forgets to breathe, I find a kind of freedom no title ever promised me. I've walked through gardens manicured by centuries, spoken words passed down through generations, but nothing has ever felt as sacred as the way you say my name. Not the formal way, not the one that echoes in state halls, but the way you say it when I'm tired, when I'm doubting, when I forget I'm more than the crown. You say it like it's something holy, something soft and human, and in that moment I am not heir or icon, I am yours. That thought used to scare me, it doesn't anymore, because what is royalty really, if it cannot kneel to love, and what is love, if it cannot rise with me? I would rather walk into the unknown with you than sit on a throne alone. You are not my escape, you are my home, the place where every version of me is allowed to exist, unhidden. There are moments in the day when I catch your scent in the breeze, and forget for a heartbeat who I am supposed to be. My spine straightens out of instinct, but my heart softens in rebellion. I wonder if you feel it too, this dance we perform between what is expected and what is true. Your smile unguarded is my favorite kind of defiance. It reminds me that joy is a form of resistance. Sometimes I look at you across a crowded room, and everything slows. I watch how you carry yourself, not with arrogance but with a quiet kind of certainty that steadies me. The world sees only the edges of our story. They'll never understand the tenderness behind it, the careful threading of your world and mine into something that refuses to unravel. I think of our conversations, the ones filled with plans, and the ones that just existed for the comfort of being near. And every word you've given me has been more precious than all the diamonds I've been dressed in. If I could wear your heart like a jewel I would, not to show it off, but to keep it close, to remind myself that I am loved, not just admired. I never asked for this life, not really. It was written for me, long before I had language for desire, long before I knew the shape of my own soul. But if I could rewrite just one part, it would be the chapter where we met, not because I'd change it, but because I want to live it again and again. You appeared not as a whirlwind, but as a question. What if you could choose for yourself? And my answer came quietly, one heartbeat at a time. Every time you listened without needing to fix me. Every time you let me be ordinary, even when I wore history around my shoulder. I love you not in the way fairy tales taught me. Those were stories written for children. I love you in the way storms love the sea, inevitable and endless. In the way roots love soil, deep and unseen. In the way a flame loves oxygen, not for its safety but for the way it lets it burn. And maybe I was always meant to burn, not for attention but for love. And maybe you were always the match I never knew I was waiting for. There's a version of me they'll never meet. The one who laughs too loudly at your terrible jokes. The one who cries when you read poetry like it matters. The one who wants nothing more than to trace your profile with sleepy fingers and memorize the sound of your breathing. That version belongs to you, not because you asked for her, but because you earned her. You never made me feel like I had to be perfect, only present, only honest, and that's harder than it seems in my world. Honesty comes with cost, but with you it's not currency, it's community. A meeting place between two souls who refuse to pretend. I dream sometimes of a life away from the spotlight. Not to run but to be still. To wake up with the sun on your skin, instead of flashbulbs in my eyes. To cook breakfast badly and laugh about it. To love you not in whispers, but in declarations no one can misunderstand. But until then, I will love you quietly, fiercely. In the in-between, in the spaces no one can censor, in the letters I never send, in the glances across crowded rooms that say I see you, I choose you, I always will. And when they write the story of my reign, I wonder what they'll leave out. The quiet ache, the sweet rebellion, the soul behind the symbol. I hope somewhere between the headlines and the heraldry, someone finds traces of you. The color you brought to my monochrome world. The courage you inspired without ever asking me to change. You gave me back my voice, not by silencing yours, but by showing me how powerful softness can be. Love with you is not a crown I wear, but a garden I tend. It grows in unlikely places. Between state dinners and silent car rides. Between duty and desire. Between my hand reaching back and finding yours already there. You once asked me if I thought we would last. I didn't answer then, but I'll answer now. With the fullness of everything I am. We already have, because the color of your soul is now woven into mine, permanent and sacred. And even if time separates us, even if history forgets, I will remember. I will remember what love looked like when it dared to exist, even here, especially here, because you were never just someone I loved.